Hey guys, it's your favorite youth pastor here, Jermaine. No, it's like nah, but I sorry I've been away for a couple weeks, but I just needed some time just to uh get some stuff in order, and my hours at work picked back up, so that's been pretty crazy. But I'm back, and I enjoy making these videos, and I hope you guys um enjoy watching them. I've been blessed through the whole process, and I feel like God has really um, stepped into my life, and like especially through COVID, really just stepped in and helped me to get more in my Bible reading, and helped me to get more closer to Him. And these are some of the products of my prayer time and just my Bible reading. So I'm gonna jump right into it. So this type this little talk, or whatever you want to call it, lesson, it's titled Plans. And when I'm talking about plans, like dreams, hopes, whatever, just things that you want in the future, um, things that you want to accomplish, I like to talk about David. I know I always start with David because David was anointed to become king at a very young age, but he didn't actually take the throne until later in life, maybe in his 30s. But I think that from that time of early teenage years until 30s, he had some life to experience. He had to go through some stuff. He had to uh, figure out a lot of different things about his character before he was ready for that position. And the verse that I want to use today is a verse that's used a lot, that's used heavily. I've heard it last week at a graduation, and I'm going to use it today. The verse is Jeremiah 29:11. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you a hope in the future." Um, so everyone knows of the famous David versus Goliath battle. It wasn't really even a battle. It was the underdog knocked down the giant. But before David even picked up those 5 stones and hurled them into the middle of Goliath's skull, he was already on the path to become king. Like, that situation was uh, already forming, and it was already going to happen that way. That was part of God's bigger plan for David. And many of us have big plans, including myself. I have a lot of big plans, things I want to accomplish, and they don't always go the way I planned. Um, if our plans don't align with what God has for us, God's always going to come in and make some alterations, and ultimately it's going to, if we're obedient, it's going to end up the way God wants it to be, you know. So you have to be ready for alterations. Um, the thing about following Christ is you always live on your pivot foot. What do I mean by pivot foot? So have you guys ever seen basketball, like watched a basketball game? Like if a point guard throws it into a small forward or something, and the small forward catches the ball, he plants one foot, and he's able to move his body, you know, in order to try it and get the pass out to one of his teammates or whatever. So when I say we're on our pivot foot, I mean that we can be, we have to have our foundation deep in God, and then we're allowed to do other things. Yeah, but sometimes in some situations, uh, our weaknesses, like when we're on our pivot, like when we're trying to do different things, we're exposed. But the thing about it is, uh, God can work with that. In fact, He wants those things to be exposed because at the end of the day, it's all about His glory. He's going to get the glory. He wants the weaknesses to be exposed because God's going to get the glory. Um, let's take Paul, for instance. Everyone knows of Paul. Paul is this great man of God. He's in the Bible. But Paul, he was the worst of the worst in the beginning. He was actually persecuting Christians. And then God came in and got a hold of his life, and he stopped him. He stopped him in his tracks, and I'm pretty sure it went something like, "No more, Paul." He probably said, "Stop him. No more, Paul." So there's 3 points I want to make. The first one is when it comes to plans, we have to be faithful and be obedient. That's a stage of my life that I'm in right now. Is I'm trying to focus more on being faithful and being obedient, even when things don't go my way, even when it hurts to do so, even when I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I'm still just trying to listen for God's voice and be faithful and be obedient, and just continue to go on day to day. I'm keeping in mind that today's pains brings tomorrow's breakthrough. So just keep on going, keep on being faithful, keep on being obedient, and it will pay off for you in the long run. You probably can't see it right now, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Number 2, allow God to use your weaknesses. 2 Corinthians 12:7-8 says, "I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me, but he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in my weakness.'" So what I mean by that is, do not worry about what you're not great at. God will use your weaknesses for his glory. Like, everything we do is for God's glory. God sees your weaknesses and he says, "Watch me work." I had a dream about that, where God said, like, just some things I was dealing with, and God was like, when I woke up, the only words I saw was "watch me work." So that gave me confirmation that for me to continue to be obedient and faithful and allow God to work through me, and whatever, when it turns out to be what it's going to turn out, it's going to be all for God's glory. And like I spoke of before, David, when I was talking about David and Goliath. David was the weaker vessel all around. He was the weakest link. But David had something that Goliath didn't have. David had God on his side, and that's the difference maker. That's the equalizer. So when you have God on your side, nothing you go through is too big. Remember that. When you have God on your side, nothing that you go through is too big. Our problems are big, but the God we serve is bigger. And number 3, be ready to pivot. Keep your firm foundation in God, but remember that the plans that you have will change. God knows everything he has set out for you. You have to be ready to make a change. You can be knee deep in a situation, but when God calls you, be ready to answer. Trust that God has your best interest at heart. So that's just a short message that I wanted to bring to you guys today. I hope you guys are all still doing well in the pandemic, and I'm excited to see you guys, and just continue to be faithful and be obedient. So, Jermaine out.